Hello friends. Part of the mission of this channel is to remind us of things that are beyond our usual cultural offerings. So, of course, every time I go onto the news, I am seeing stories of people being bad to each other. Unless you go to certain places, like the Good News Network, you'll see a different story. But in general, we see a lot of media that tells us really bad things. That can start us getting to imagine that all of life, everything we're experiencing around us, is really kind of negative. And when we believe that, largely that's the world we're going to experience. So today I want to share a story about a good person, and I want to take you on an adventure with our family out into the woods to learn a few things and to see a slightly different view of reality than what some other people might be talking about. Hi friends, my name is Kenton Whitman, and together with my family, we aim to share wilderness skills, mindfulness practices, wild edible plants, family adventures, and skills that break you free from the limits of civilized life. Join us by subscribing to our channel and joining our YouTube family. If you watch my video on finding morels, this would be one of those elms that it'd be possible to find one, but it's probably too far gone. This is how small ticks can get. Look at that little guy. Inevitably, when we go out exploring, we come back with some dinner. Some really nice oyster mushrooms. Well, we found our way to the overlook, but it wasn't quite what we were expecting, which was just a great reminder from the world about expectations. But in the way of children, that hopefully we can emulate as adults, it was just as fun for the girls, whether there was an overlook or not.
How about you go study the other one?
Because I want to see this one.
Okay. I'll step out.
These guys keep laying on their side like this and doing this. Not quite sure what they're up to. Remember last year we had a video on these May apples, the mandrake fruit, and there's so many more this year. So we are really hoping for a harvest of these, unlike any we've seen before. You know, plants can grow through each other and then on top of each other. And that's an important thing to remember, because a lot of times when we're trying to identify a species that we see, it can sometimes get mixed up by other plants that are kind of intruding into that other one, so that we see one sign and think, oh, that's this, but actually the leaves are all tangled up. Happened to me the other day with a couple of trees, a dead tree and a butternut tree that was next to it. And the butternut had kind of grown into the dead tree so that it appeared that this dead tree had butternut leaves. And it wasn't obvious until looking at the bark that that was not the case. Sometimes this could get a little dangerous. So you could have here what looks like Solomon's seal or maybe Solomon's plume. And you can see there's the little berries of the Solomon's plume, which are going to turn bright red. If you had just learned about Solomon's plume, you might be excited for it, and you would see that Solomon's plume rising up, and then you'd see red berries and go, oh my gosh, there's some ripe ones, and pick them, and it wouldn't go so well, because here's the Solomon's plume, but you can see, oh, there are where the berries are. This is actually baneberry, but growing in such a way that from a certain angle, it appears to be berries on the end of a Solomon's plume. Now remember, I told you I was going to share something about a good person that we met. And when we go out, we call it Amishing every Monday. That's when we go out and we get some raw milk and sometimes eggs from some Amish friends and get to go out and see their way of life. So we enter a world where things are drawn by horses instead of gasoline engines, and where the people have different values than we do in our culture. When we do this, we usually don't see a lot of English, people who are not Amish. But on this particular adventure, we did run into somebody who was English. And the story happened when we pulled into an Amish farm to try to get some strawberries. We've been looking around, hoping to get some strawberries, because a lot of the Amish are growing them this time of year. And we pulled into this farm. There was a great big pickup right in front of us. And an Amish gentleman was talking to the English gentleman who was inside the truck. And then the truck pulled forward, and the Amish man came back to speak to us and gave us the unfortunate news that all the strawberries that he had just been purchased by the person in the truck. So as we thanked him and got ready to drive off, that pickup came up next to our car, and he rolled down the window. And he must have intuited or understood that we probably were looking for strawberries, and he had just gotten all the last of them. And so he said, would you like a carton of strawberries? And we said, no, thank you, it's okay. We're going to go to some other farms, hopefully we'll find some there. But it was just very, very kind. And he drove off. We turned around, started driving down the driveway. We saw that his truck was stopped at the end of the driveway. And he got out of the truck and he came up to our car and he said, really want to give you some strawberries. And he gave us a carton of strawberries. We wanted to pay him for the strawberries, but he did not want any money for the strawberries. I practically had to force some money into his hands to say thank you in return. And that led to a conversation. It started between him and then continued with my family about how many things there are that are right about the world, about how we can see a kindness that we can do to somebody. And in general, in our experience, this happens. People reach out and do these kindnesses for each other all the time. This was a wonderful, nice thing that this gentleman did, but it wasn't unusual in our lives. This is normal. For us to do small favors for people, and for those around us to do small favors for us. So how can there be such a divergence between what is portrayed in the media and what our actual experience of other humans is? Now, this might be different in different parts of the world, but out here in the country, there are definitely stereotypes. I mean, I've got long hair, and most of the people out here are riding four-wheelers. They have their hair cut very short, very, quote, conservative in their values. And some would say, well, that person's going to look at someone like me and think certain things about me, and that I would think certain things about them. But I really just haven't encountered that. There is a goodness in people that doesn't need governments or labels or rules or anything else to say how we should be with each other. In fact, maybe it is our culture trying to clamp down and tell people how to behave that is part of the problem. Because when I tell you how you have to be, and think about it, if I say to you, you can come and camp in my yard, but I do not want you stealing anything from my house. I don't want you trying to attack my family. I don't want you kicking my dog or vandalizing anything. What am I telling you? I'm telling you basically that I think you're a bad person and I don't trust you at all. If I say, welcome, here's a place for your tent, and our kiddos will be playing out in the yard, and if you need anything, come on up to the house. We're going to bake cookies later on. I'll bring some out to you. How do you feel then? And how do you think you're going to act in the one case as opposed to the other case? So there's a goodness in the world. We will be blind to it if all we look at is our media. But if we look at other people and our own experience, we might start to see a different message. And if we are seeing negativity around us, it might be time to question our own approach to the world. Because the way others treat us has a lot to do with the way we treat others. This is basic knowledge, but sometimes something that we've forgotten as a people. So there it is, my friends. Some thoughts, a little adventure out in nature, and hoping that this brings a little bit of goodness to you today. Thank you for the goodness you bring into my family's life, to being part of our channel, leaving your comments, your insightful comments, becoming a patron if you're a patron, taking part in our lives in many ways that you can through our channel and our website and our books. It is appreciated. All right, we'll talk with you in the comments. So much love.